There are so many different type of reptile people, okay? You're all about extracting data and how can I kind of get into the nitty gritty.
I want to have like these relationships with animals where,
wow.
And I'm breeding them for personality, the genetics and all that. I work with making these like happy and enjoyable.
Unreal. Oh man, I'm pretty excited right now because it's been a long time coming. We met a long time ago back in Tinley.
Yeah, Tinley. Yes.
And there's a mutual respect between us because I just love how this guy works with his animals. I mean, this is a beautifully socialized monitor. You guys know Slinky. That was kind of a happy accident, Kev. I just kind of built a big enclosure, sat in there with him, and that's what we got. Well, where am I? I'm at Nerd, New England Reptile Distributors, and I'm about to get schooled, and I'm really excited about that.
In a good way.
In a good way, man.
We sincerely thank all of you happy campers out there. Your support makes a real difference in our efforts here at Kamp Kenan. This week's shout out goes to Patreon supporter Zachary Belcher. Thank you for all you do and for loving reptiles.
So who are we looking at right here?
This is, we call him Gubu.
Okay.
But this is a wild line of Guru. So Guru is, it's either dominant or incomplete dominant, but it's a genetic variation on Varana salvator. And you get that weird kind of patterning. You get the contrast in the ocelli. It makes it really nice. He's just, he's a wonderful animal. Now he's wild caught originally. So I sourced him out of the wild.
Okay.
And so he came with all, you know, the wild caught stuff, but you can see our socialization. He's pretty much just loves being, you know, part of all the activity.
Yeah, well, what's funny, guys, is that he opened the cage and I'm already dirty. Jumped right in there, so I already feel at home. He just jumped right out at us. Really cool. Now, something that I need to really learn are the different localities of all these water monitors, man.
Yep.
They have a wide range.
It's huge, and it's a work in progress. I'm always learning this, but I've learned a fair bit, and a lot of the information that we originally had is actually really inaccurate. There's a lot to be learned about these guys, for sure. So that's a sulfur. Hi, baby. And you can see how, like, pretty much all my monitors you can go right up to and touch and play with.
No, listen. That's one of the things that people are going to be dying to know. How did it start for you with the monitors and being able to kind of decipher their brains?
Remember I told you like bugs and all that? So I started out with bugs, and I'm like, I would just like sit there and, you know, play with little things, and I would like, you know, like jumping spiders or something like that. And I was fascinated by how can this little thing be so ridiculously intelligent and reactive. And then I just start looking at these guys, and I was like looking at the mindsets and the brains. These are highly intelligent that we would not associate with reptiles.
Okay.
At all.
I'm always going on about
But I'm a bird guy.
Okay.
I love birds. So, you know, hand-fed birds and, you know, captive parrots and all that different stuff like that. So dealing with birds which are highly intelligent, very articulate with their ideas and how they perceive people, and very reactive. So these guys I see likens to like a bird brain. You know, it's really, that sounds negative, but actually
it's positive. Highly
intelligent birds are just, you know, so capable. So I started kind of looking at these animals in that light, and it was a very private thing. And I guess the first thing where I kind of started understanding stuff is I used to have Rafi from MA Balls come up here, and we used to do ball python videos.
Okay.
And he's like, you need to show everybody all your cool ball pythons. You know, we have the internet, but I was always like under a rock. So, you know, after a while you just get tired of like, you know, going and doing all this stuff unless you see somebody else's excitement. So he came here, we started filming, and then he's like, Rafi like had a Savannah monitor, and Rafi's like, how is it your monitors are like, these big things are like not mauling you and all that? And I'm like, I don't know. And I showed him like I could hang like a defrosted rat, and things like, rawr, and he's like, that thing can mess you up. And I put my hand there. He's like, how does it know? And I started showing him, and he started getting me to think, and he's like, you need to show people this stuff. So I started showing people this stuff, and I got mauled. I got so attacked by people. All the monitors.
Oh, by people or the lizards?
No, never my lizards.
Isn't it funny the people are more aggressive than the animals?
Because I was saying they were friendly, and I was like, you're misleading people, it's a wild thing, and that thing any minute could do it. I'm like, I'm not seeing this. So I started doing videos, and then people are like, you're doing tomfoolery, you're rubbing scents, you're cooling them down, you're doing all this stuff. So I started showing them. So I remember going on, there was a Facebook group called Cyber Salvatore, and I got annihilated. And then people tried to defend me, And they started getting annihilated, and some of them started getting banned, and I was like, you're being irresponsible and all that. And I'm like, wow. So I ended up starting a Facebook group called Urban Dinosaur, and that ended up swelling to about 25,000 members.
Amazing.
And then Facebook took the whole thing down. They said something like we violated terms. Somebody posted something, I don't know what it was, but we do like no live feed videos and all that stuff. She'll come out and kiss your face too. They're all like that.
That's amazing, man. Where are sulfurs actually from?
So basically you can find these like in Java, but they're the sulfur morph, which is incomplete dominant. So it's not just definitive to, let's say, just Java. So like a Bivitatus or whatever. So I have Celebensis, or I have one that's from Sulawesi. Okay. And that's a really crazy looking sulfur. But this, you know, is incomplete dominant. So when this breeds to a normal wild type, the resulting babies are heterozygous gene carriers. And generally you can look at them and you see they have certain attributes which are pretty, you know, things that we consider as a visual het, but it's not always.
But these are a naturally occurring
yes,
morph.
absolutely. Just like black dragons.
Yeah.
So we have black dragon Sumatra,
Yep.
which is a larger growing, and then we have Khomeini, which is, so this is a hypermelanistic. So we have obviously T negative albino, T positive albino. There's two different types of T negatives, and there's all this different stuff. So I've been working with the morphs. We have Axanthic, like that's a wild Axanthic from Java.
Hold on, I gotta put her back. Oh, she got the claws.
Oh yeah, she just wants to be with you.
Yeah, that's amazing. They really are curious. They want to know what's going on.
Yeah, they're cool. They want to come out and crawl around the room. And what's really nice is I can let them walk around while we're doing stuff, and they don't just like, oh, I'm free, I'm gonna go run. Nothing. It's not like that, because very important, you have to establish trust where they inherently have a trust of you and are not worried of you. Okay. Once they're worried, I go through this whole thing we could talk about. I talk about reptiles in modes. These guys all live in modes. I don't care if it's a redfoot tortoise or it's a snake, but they live in modes. So sleeping, feed, some kind of feed where they're actually aggressively, you know, getting their food, fear, and thinking. And the problem is people often handle these animals in fear mode, and they have never assumed like a relationship with that animal. So they're doing this and they're trying to do all these things, and it's like, you're not going to get the same thing out of the element, and you're not going to see the animal for what it is, and I want to see the animal for what it is. So you have to get rid of all the fear. So it has to trust you. It has to be not wincing and worried about you and how's it going to get away. So what I try to do is I try to develop that friendship or that trust relationship, and then suddenly I start seeing the animal for what it is. If it was out in the forest, what would it be doing? And I changed that, and I did this just inherently. It was just like something I made up and taught myself, but it consistently works the same way. Just like I talk about building threads of trust.
Right.
So if I watch you with yours,
yep,
and Pinky or whatever, it's every single one of those things that you do. She's dying to get to know you and be friends with you. She's all over you and stuff like that. And what you need to do is you need to create a tactile relationship, which you're now doing, but where you're touching. And what will ultimately happen is you'll never ever have fear that she's going to like bite you, because she's gonna know you are not food, and she's gonna know this is my daddy. This is like, dude, they bond to you and they recognize you, your smell, your visual, your scent, or you know, just your voice, all that stuff. And there's all these different tricks, but I do like these videos. I used to do these like bubblegum videos, and it's all about threads of trust. So you have all these little microscopic episodes with these guys, and each one of these little threads eventually build a rope, because people get impatient. Okay. So I kind of like named it these threads. So eventually you build this really nice thing, and now you have these animals where I can send somebody else in there, and I don't ever worry about anything happening.
I got a question. Has anyone else ever said this stuff before? Like,
No.
did you ever hear this?
No.
No,
I make
like-
stuff up.
No. Here's what's cool. Great question. By the way, Tom is back, everybody.
Hey,
Look, there he is.
hey.
This is the first time we've seen Tom in months, and I'm actually here with him. So we're happy to have Tom back behind the camera. But I can say this, you know, I'll say this about Kevin. Like, I've known of Kevin, as I mentioned at the top, for many, many years, and the work he's doing, it's pioneering. It really is pioneering stuff, and it's exciting because, you know, there's a guy out, the Mink Man. We visited the Mink Man, you know, Joe.
Yes,
people
Joseph,
think he's crazy because he's trying to train one of these things to actually hunt. But always on the vanguard of discovery, you're considered a lunatic. You know what I mean? Like, And I happen to really think that he may get someplace with that animal. And I think if he meets you, it would just be nuts.
Joseph and I talk.
That's amazing.
We're already friendly. He reached out to me and wanted to ask me some questions. So we go back and forth, and he really is not a reptile guy. So his mindset is very, very different. But I love like the fact, like a mink is highly reactive, and that's the animal that like bite first, don't consider anything until, and so he's gone ahead of that and he's built that whole relationship. So that is exactly the kind of stuff we're talking. He sees the animal for what it is.
Right.
Exactly.
And then work with that type of behavior and instinct.
He's very much a realist. So when I talk to him, and he doesn't have the ego problem, which it is so huge, because you get these like egomaniacs and stuff like that. And egomaniacs, if they recognize somebody else for doing something that's like threatening, they'll often attack them and demean them or defame them, so other people won't even consider their stuff valuable. Like everybody considers me like a snake guy, like ball pythons. I kind of one of the do you know that?
You know what?
I write books on ball pythons.
I didn't. I don't pay attention to ball pythons, so I know you as the monitor guy, but that's amazing.
If you name ball pythons like names, that's all like. I started all these crazy names,
so
like the spider and the pastel and the
That's
caramel and the ghost, the bumblebee, the killer bee, the honeybee.
So you've always been.
I call it crazy names.
What I'm finding out here, and this is really cool, there are so many different type of reptile people, okay? I am more passionate about, doing things naturalistically. And there are others, like I would say you might fit into, you're all about deciphering behaviors, and you would have been, you are a scientist, you are a herpetologist, but you're all about extracting data and how can I kind of get into the nitty gritty and everything.
It's just my brain is just fills with like anecdotal information. So a good person that would give you a very good standard is Tom Crutchfield, which your buddies.
Yep.
Ask Tom about me, because since I was a kid, I would call up, would wait for my list, my multicolored list.
Yeah.
I was obsessed. So Tom knew me from I was just getting the first Borneo short tails or whatever, and different red tails and all that, to where I am now. And Tom, which I have a great reverence for. He's always like he's like, Kev, I'm so proud of you, or whatever, because he's like, I watched you from the annoying person on the phone, but I, of course, was buying a lot of stuff, to he's like, now you're just doing the stuff that's like ridiculous. And when I hear that from somebody like that, that is like, that's like a big deal.
And then the other testament is the animals. Let's go look at a few more of these socialized animals so we can kind of show people just what we got going on here at Nerd. And this is an amazing, listen, we're gonna have a few different videos from here, and I'm actually only gonna be, truth be told, I'm only gonna be here for like one day, maybe not even, like a few hours. So we're gonna really just extract as much juice from this guy as we can to make this trip really worth it.
And obviously there's a lot of monitors here.
Yes.
And pretty much any kind of predatory lizard, I try to kind of work with where they have like a brain set. So if it's a tokay, gecko, or whatever, you can do all like the whispering stuff too. And I, even my dwarf Cayman, which I've had like 25 years, and I breed those. But when they were little, I started with the whole petting the face.
Okay.
But I want to have like these relationships with animals where,
wow, look at that.
They're just like, Daddy, come here.
Yeah, and normally wiggling your fingers would.
Oh, I don't worry about any of that.
That's amazing.
And so this is Celebensis. So this is a smaller growing locality subspecies that are just ridiculous. But I don't worry about my fingers or anything like that. And they're just heating up right now, so
they feel still nice and
well, yeah, but it's still early. So like once they get really hot, it's like you can just have.
I cannot believe this.
Different ones, but I want mine all super friendly, and I want them where they crave your attention. So when we sell these, we have such a demand for the offspring, but there's just a lot of time spent getting these to this point. This is this is a daily occurrence. Every single day they are cleaned, they are managed, and they become desensitized. They lose all fear, and of course we flow with them.
Yeah.
So we have a very we don't do like anything where there's no like really restraining or anything like that.
Okay.
And even I deal with you deal with some of the wild ones that are come in like savages, because you realize when they catch these animals, let's get one thing very, very clear.
Okay.
I'm breeding up to like 5th, probably if I kept track, maybe 6th generation animals. Okay. So 6 times removed from the wild. People need to realize hundreds of thousands of monitor lizards, Varanus salvator, are harvested every year for the fashion industry. They are caught and they are processed within a few minutes. They are rendered, they're killed, they're skinned, they're everything like that. So people have these ideas, well, you know, these animals, you know, like these are animals that I've bred in captivity. These largely didn't come out of the wild, just some of my breeding stock originally. So I'm breeding stuff that's far removed from the wild, and I'm breeding them for personality, the genetics and all that. But people need to understand they're kind of getting towards, you know, I won't say domesticated, but this is animals, they only know captivity, and I'm satisfying a lot of their mental thing. And they got these ideas like, you need these giant expansive cages and you need all this different stuff, or it should just be in the wild. Just like we know there's no place for tigers, right, essentially, for any real numbers of tigers. But they have these weird ideas, and it's because we are putting human-like needs, like, you know, put human-like needs on a dog, which is incorrect, or a lizard, or whatever. But these animals, I work with making these like happy and enjoyable.
What I've noticed, just being here as short as I have, and I don't mean to cut you off because you're fascinating dude.
I'm trying to give you a bunch of information.
No, you're amazing.
I'm a hyper guy.
And guys, don't get mad at me for cutting them off. There's a reason. No. There's a reason. They get mad when I cut people off. But I do have to interject, you know, it has to be a two-way dialogue. And you mentioned domesticated. It's something I feel very strongly about. Guys will know that I preach about, hey, look, these animals are available in captivity. It's worth it. If you want to do conservation, make sure you buy a socialized, happy, healthy animal that was born and raised in captivity rather than taken from the wild. Absolutely. And the other thing that I absolutely love what you're talking about is the happiness factor of these animals. Like, you know, at first, you know, you'll come in here, right? And in the short time I've been here, people are going to say, oh, these cages are way too small. Absolutely. This is not... Look, these animals feel very warm. There's water, there's food, they're relaxed. What I've noticed, he's got a massive staff here. When I came in, everybody is holding a lizard, man. This is not just some pretend horse shit. These guys are really doing it. No, these animals are, lovers. Yeah, you guys are hands-on. I can't believe that they just come up to me. They're like, okay, we'll be your friend too.
And you really want this. But this is, I mean, you know, obviously we're dedicating ourselves to animals. I'm not a businessman. I am a terrible businessman. I'm good enough to survive. Yeah. But I'm a really possibly a good animal keeper, or at least I'm able to understand enough so I have some success. But my entire life, even my hobbies, which is studying rattlesnakes, studying wood turtles, my hobbies are still centralized around my love for animals. I love animals. I don't love people, but I love animals. And this, to me, is a representative of ecosystems. Yeah. So if I have a very friendly lizard, it's the steward of the rainforest, and then I try to create empathy. That's the first connection. Create empathy. I can't create empathy if my animal isn't so sweet and so like, oh my God, it's so wonderful. I don't care if it's a reticulated python, I don't care if it's a ball python, it's a water monitor, whatever. So I want to have that very soft interaction where the animal's just like, there's nothing that they can detect, and then I change their minds. Yeah. You know, we know we can put a Redfoot Taurus in front of somebody and it's not going to do anything.
It's benign.
Yes.
They see
this isn't, but then when they're like, what do you mean? And the thing is like, it wants to hang out on a cat tree, and it wants to be with you. Why is it not running away? They're not interested in running away because you're interesting. You rub them, you pet them. They love to get scratched and pet and all this different stuff. Once these guys get heated up, it's just non-stop. They're at the front of the cage.
Let's see if they'll go back in. But
that doesn't want to generally go. I'm surprised the rest haven't loaded up, but they're kind of sitting in the water. So they just already got their waters cleaned. I build all my caging. So
this is amazing. Yeah.
I know you build your caging, which I sit there and study.
Well, that's part of the fun, man. I'm looking at this. Like, look at this. Just very simple, very smart. I love getting ideas, and that's why I like bringing you guys along with me, so you can see how other people do it.
I fabricate.
Oh my God! Look at this beauty. They're gorgeous, man. You know, reason I never got into ball pythons is because I'm somewhat colorblind, and
I know a lot of people that have some of that.
And you know, for me, it's like never been the most passionate thing, but I can see just how beautiful these guys are. Look at this, my God! I mean, so many different monitors.
We shut off some lights so you didn't fry, because the room gets really hot.
I'll tell you what. To wrap this video up, would you do me a solid? I want to show you guys something just berserk. Oh my gosh, guys, check this out. Is there anything cuter than baby crocodilians, man? And you've already been playing with how old are these guys?
A couple days.
They're only a few days old. And so immediately, are you like like John Hammond in Jurassic Park? You're there for every birth of your animal?
I like to be here for this. This is actually one of my most rewarding species to hatch, because you can end up, I end up having like friendly, and I'm gonna say friendly because I used to get really slighted terribly for saying friendly. That's so misleading. These are wild animals. And it's like, I don't regard it like that. So what I do is people that say things like that, they don't understand me and they don't understand the animals. So they're trying to correct me, and it's like, no. You need to be corrected because I know what I'm capable of. I don't get bit by things.
That's amazing.
I interact with stuff. And I used to even free handle like venomous stuff, and I stopped because mistakes will always happen, and because I'm into timber rattlesnake conservation, I can't make a fool of timber rattlesnakes.
Makes sense.
By doing something that's for my own ego. So I had to like correct myself.
That's cool.
But it's because I care more about the species than
we talked about ego earlier, and that's a lot of times look, I just got a little nip, but this
nothing.
is nothing.
This is
so
just
tiny.
So
let's see. You go from this, and we're going to show you another one here. This is awesome. Unreal. So, guys, this is dwarf caiman. Now, normally you can't handle dwarfs like this. My buddy Fred Grunwald has a dwarf that he's able to pick up, but it's not quite as tame as this. How long have you had this animal?
I produce these.
Yeah, how many years have you been doing?
I think we 7 or 8 clutches.
Yeah, we're in our 8th year. That one's like 4.5, almost 5 years old.
Okay, let's
get over here, Rob.
What? No, I wouldn't even.
This is Rob. This is our main. This is a sales manager and our main educator. And
no way. And that is a full-grown. That's a
25 probably year old man. I've raised this from a baby.
That's a good look. That is top size. That's the top end that you'd see from a dwarf caiman. That's a pretty darn big dwarf.
That's his son right there.
Yeah.
So that's like a 5-year-old baby right there.
And so talk to me a little bit about the differences with the crocodilian cognition and how you go. Is it the same?
It's very you have to be tactile.
Okay.
With some babies, rubbing the face. I got this whole thing with the face I'll kind of go through with you. It's important. So what I do is I teach them that nothing is sacred. So you don't don't pat my cat on the head or don't pat my dog on the head, anything like that.
Yeah.
You want to, if you start when they're little and you kind of desensitize them as an adult, you don't have that taboo, therefore you're not going to trigger them. Like what Rob's doing is very non-natural because you have one predator playing with another predator, and this animal is cognitively allowing it, and it's rewired its brain.
Okay.
Because Rob never hurts it, he never scares it,
Yeah.
he just works with it, and this animal is just, at the very least, he's very tolerant of us.
Makes sense.
And you have incredible teeth on that, and they can be savages.
Yep.
And I would rather just have a very friendly animal because this is like an animal that Rob will routinely pick out, show people, and I don't want it attacking him.
Gotcha.
So it's very important. And right now this animal is getting a little skits from the camera.
The camera, yeah.
It has nothing to do with
too
people.
close. Yeah.
No, it just has to do with
It's new.
I think what it's doing is bouncing off something that as it's focusing,
Okay.
and we're not picking it up.
We
But
can't pick
all
it up,
our
I think,
monitors
yeah.
are picking it all up.
Very interesting. Yeah, maybe the electricity coming off of it.
Well, it's going to be like an infrared thing. It's
Gotcha.
bouncing back and scattering. It's constantly receiving and it's making
I'm
adjustments.
blown away by this, man. This has been an amazing. Yeah, I'd love to if that's okay.
absolutely. You know what you're doing,
all right.
so.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Right underneath this chest plate, you're good.
Oh my God, guys.
Easy.
That is a beautiful animal right here. I'm gonna have to get some Instagram shots of this. I just want to say thanks. This is the first of a few videos that we're gonna do with Kevin and the crew over here at Nerd. And I gotta say also, when you talk about ego, right? Ego is the killer of learning. And it's really cool that Kevin, I'm so happy that Kevin commented on my videos. Once I saw that, I was like, oh my God, Kevin's commenting, this is so rad. And we're developing a professional friendship here.
I was just like, I saw what you're doing. I'm like, oh, there's a couple little things I think.
Yeah.
And what's really great, Kenan didn't like jump on me. Oh, what are you trying to do? Up me or
No,
something like that. And he was very open-minded. Then you called me.
Yeah.
And then I saw this number and I'm like, I don't know. And I'm like, I wonder if that's like him. And I call back and I'm like, bam! We went
well,
from there.
you see, guys, what we like to do here on my channel is I just really want to demystify, like you, these animals, and I want people to get a good appreciation. And one of the things I'll take away from our conversation in this video is the fact that you are doing something. You're taking animals that are traditionally thought of as mindless, rabid, prehistoric beasts, and you're really showing people that they are animals that have a lot more to them than we give them credit for. And Tom Crutchfield has a great saying. And Tom's saying is, I'm gonna mangle it, but basically once it goes from fear to fascination, once you lose the fear, you become fascinated. So with that, guys, I'm gonna say goodbye. We have more videos to come. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Go check out Nerd on Twitch
New England
and
Reptile.
on good old YouTube, all right? We'll see you guys soon.